Hello and welcome to Fox Sports Lab NRL. I'm Eloise Sohier and with me are NRL greats Josh Morris and Chris Lawrence alongside stats guru Tim Williams. Now there is a buzz in the air that means just one thing. State of Origin is just around the corner. Let's get to our experts to see how the teams are shaping up. We love this time of year, gents. Let's first of all chat. Who's impressed most through the first 7 rounds that's earned a debutant, do you think?
Well, I've been singing the praises of Gamble Graham for probably the last month now. I think defensively as a centre, he's probably one of the better ones in the game, and his attack, that right edge of South has been dynamic and he's been a feature of that. So I think you could easily play him in the centres and move Turbo to the wing, and that still gives them a lot of strike power out on that right edge.
You agree in Campbell Graham getting a spot this year?
Yeah, I think Campbell Graham's the man, especially with Josh Carr going down injured. He's out sort of long term, so I think that does open a spot there. Whether it is the wing or centre, I don't think it really matters in the sense that we saw in the World Cup for the Kangaroos him spend some time on the wing where he killed it there. I prefer him at centre, as Josh mentioned, that defensive presence. He's so aggressive, up and in your face. I think he's tailor-made for Origin. He can obviously cover both positions. I think he's the man.
You spoke about that, you probably prefer him at centre, and that's probably the biggest thing. Like, you look at the centres and the people probably in front of him, you know, Turbo and Latrell, you're not going to leave them out of the side. Where do you fit him in? And that's the thing. Is it more important to have a specialist winger defensively or to have someone in the centres who, you know, trains there week in, week out, understands those movements and works with the halfback? That's probably the only thing I'm thinking about. Where do you fit him in? Because you obviously got to have Latrell and Turbo and they're going to be there and work out from there.
From my point of view, I think a specialist centre, you need defence for those defensive structures and the way you defend certain structures. And if you're a centre, it certainly helps. I think the wing, you can kind of just read what your centre does and follow in, and I think that can kind of suit Turbo, as well as being able to float in attack whenever he wants to as well. So I'd probably rather see a centre play there than a fullback.
Do you think if you put Turbo there, does that give him more opportunity to spend more energy in attack and then, you know, save a bit of the juice? You know, you're used to playing fullback and covering a lot of distance. Is that your thinking there?
Yeah, I think so. I think if he's on the wing, he can float in whenever, and as you said, he's not playing fullback, so he's not having to run as fast, so he becomes a whole lot more potent, definitely.
Well, let's talk about someone who is going to be playing, or perhaps potentially playing at fullback, and that is, of course, Reece Walsh, potentially getting a call-up for Queensland. Who do we pick here, Ponga or Reece Walsh?
Well, I think at the moment you've got to pick Reece Walsh. I mean, Ponga has been there and done it. You know, there's some certain guys that can come in off, you know, very little football and do a job and have proven they can do a job. But I think it's a massive risk with, you know, how many head knocks he's had over the last couple of years. And, you know, do you go in planning that if he does get a head knock, what's the plan B? You don't want to be doing that and thinking that. Given the form Reece Walsh is in, you know, picking guys in form who have that confidence. He was in around the squad last year from memory and I think just got injured, otherwise he would have made his debut. The question is going to be, you know, how many weeks do they give, you know, Kalyn an opportunity to play? If it's 1 or 2 weeks, you know, if he's coming with no football at all, I think they probably go with Reece, but if he gets a couple of weeks of game time, it's going to be a really tough decision.
Tim, if you're Billy Slater, are you picking Kalyn Ponga?
As a New South Wales fan's sake, perspective I should say, I hope they go with Reece Walsh because I can't believe you're saying against Kalyn Ponga, a bloke who pretty well, I shouldn't say single-handedly, but not far off, had beat the Blues last season. He can move back to fullback there. He's back for the Knights this weekend, so he can get 3 or 4 games under his belt. Now, provided he gets through the stretch through to Origin 1 okay, I think he's like set and forget fullback for them. You talk about being able to have a plan B for it and the risk around the concussion. They've got Val Holmes who'll be there at centre. They've got Kurt Capel in the back row who can slot in at centre, and Val can go to fullback if required. Now, you don't really want to have to do that, but I do think they're covered. And look, as I said, as a Blues fan, I hope Kalyn Ponga isn't there.
If he misses any type of game time next month with a head knock or an injury, do you just automatically rule him out then?
If he plays the week before Origin 1 and looks fine and good, which he will because he's a freak, I would pick Kalyn Ponga.
Josh, you're not liking these comments?
Yeah, I'm with Chris. I just don't think he's played enough football, and there is that every chance that he can cop a knock between now and then. How long does he sit out if he has another knock? And if he plays fullback, well then I've got no doubt that New South Wales will target him, and you could see him spending some time off. You've got Cobbo there as well that could potentially play fullback as well. So I don't think it's dire straits for Queensland if he doesn't play, but if he does play, he was one of their best.
Well, you look at someone like a few years ago, Boyd Cordner, someone who had a history of head knocks, came in and got a head knock early, and just what effect, you know, a senior player who had proven that could come in and play with injury, but when they did get injured in the game, what effect that did have, you know, and a large hole. And I look at Kalyn as somewhat similar.
There is so much conversation to have. We haven't even mentioned Nicho Hynes and the form he's at to start through the 7 rounds. Just quickly, who out of Queensland and New South Wales is looking better of the two so far where we're at right now?
Oh, I think New South Wales, but there's a lot of footy to be played between now and Origin. I think Kalyn Ponga is probably a big loss as well. He's probably in line for a Blues jumper, but you know that gives someone like Ola Kawatu a chance as well. So I think over the next month we'll see people jump out of the box and get themselves their jumpers.
Yeah, absolutely. We're counting the sleeves until the first game in Adelaide on May 31st. The Rabbitohs have hit top form, but there is nothing like a winning Panthers side. Chris Lawrence, this is a real toss of the coin to come see who comes out on top.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. I'm with the Panthers. I think they were very lucky to get away with the win last week. And, you know, I think Knights probably should have won the game if it wasn't for Nathan Cleary. Before that, had 2 really good wins. I think it's probably the wake-up call they needed just to really sharpen their focus. They come up against South. It's a big game, and the Panthers get up for a big game, so I'm with the Panthers.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. A few injuries for the Rabbitohs, but Latrell Mitchell and Cody Walker in red-hot form.
They were. I think in that sin bin period, they had a hand in everything. All their points came through them, so they need to be firing this week against a Penrith side. Keon Kalyn Ponga out. That's a massive loss for South on that right edge. His combination with Ilias and Campbell Graham, so I think they'll miss that. So that's why I've tipped the Panthers.
Tim, you're looking like a bit of an Iceman over there. Nathan Cleary, talk us through it.
Yeah, much like Nathan Cleary myself. So unbelievable, isn't he? He just gets the job done every single time in the clutch moments. We've seen it already numerous times this season. Look, I'm tipping Penrith in a tight one in this affair. I do think, as much as I've got South Sydney as genuine title contenders this season, the last 2 weeks the scorelines may have been a little flattering against a Bulldogs side that were missing a lot of troops on a short turnaround. And then even last week against the Dolphins, Josh mentioned that sin bin where there was 3 tries conceded in that period. The Dolphins were right in that game, so we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, there you have it. All 3 panel members are tipping the Panthers in what looms as one of the games of Anzac round. We are about to find out if the Eels really have their season back on track. They tackle the Broncos in Darwin. And Tim, you believe they can chalk up win number 4?
Yeah, it's going to be an excellent clash, this one. And to me, it's the battle of the forward packs, isn't it? 2 of the probably in-form forward packs of the competition. Brisbane are relentless, but Parramatta took them all the way to a grand final last season. They've had a few injury concerns and suspensions with Ryan Madsen earlier on in the year, so Parra in a tight one.
I will come to you next, Chris, just on this one. Does the heat up there in Darwin play a part in this game, and how much so?
Oh, I don't think it does. The fact that Eels go up there each and every year, they will be accustomed to it, and the Broncos, you know, training up there in Queensland would have gone through quite a humid pre-season, so I don't think it's a factor. I've just gone with Eels purely for the fact I think their win on the weekend, even though it was against a Bulldogs side that was down on troops, it's a big confidence booster. They're a massive confidence team, and I think they'll take that into this week.
Josh, you're tipping the Broncos.
I am tipping the Broncos. I thought they were outstanding against the Titans, and Queensland sides have a good record up in Darwin. As Chris said, I don't think the heat's going to be too much of a factor. I think the forward pack matchup's going to be outstanding. I think Haas has been on fire, Carrigan, Flegler, and then the outside backs for the Broncos, they've been electric as well. So I think they can get the job done against the Eels up there.
Yeah, there you have it. Can the Broncos maintain the rage, or will the Eels continue their resurgence, or will be answered in the top end?
League is life. It's exhilaration, anticipation, highs and highlights. League is everything. That's why we've made a betting brand for League fans. That's better. Chances are you're about to lose.
Another Queensland derby looms this weekend with the Titans coming up against the Dolphins. Tim Williams, who are you tipping in this one?
I'm tipping the Titans, but it's a really intriguing matchup here. 2 very contrasting styles of football. We've got the Titans, who are sort of all-out attack and have their defensive struggles. Then we've got the Dolphins, who are this gritty side who love getting into the grind. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Titans are going to get the win in a tight one, but I think they were really impressive against the Broncos. I think the scoreline probably flattered the Broncos a little bit. I think the Titans were definitely in a long way. And what I really liked at the back end of the game and post-game was a lot of the comments from the players and the coaches about not blaming any of the refs or anything like that. So there's a lot to say about it in terms of the attitude moving forward, and I think that's going to take them a long way.
Josh, they welcome back Felice Kafusi, Tessie New, Jared Wallace. That is the Dolphins. Are you tipping them for this one?
Yeah, I am. And on the back of those blokes coming back in, I mean, Felice was awesome for the Dolphins. We saw exactly what he did for their defence. Tessie New, he's been dynamic out of the backfield. He's like a Brian Tuttle mould. And then Jared Wallace, who is an ex-Origin prop. I think those three inclusions can get them over the line.
Yeah, certainly. All to be told, the loser drops out of the top 8 here, so there is plenty to play for at Suncorp on Sunday afternoon. It's time to put reputations on the line and see who our panel is tipping for round 8. Tim Williams, last year you were 8 from 8, so it's about time we start listening to what you've got to say.
Yeah, look, it's about time. Now, I touched last week on job security on this panel, and with almost 600 games between you pair, I think you're pretty safe, whereas I'm a real week-to-week prospect on this desk at the moment. So I think to get 8 from 8 hopefully buys me a few more weeks on the show.
Now, obviously, a big talking point through the tipping has been the West Tigers, Chris. You've stuck solid with them and you're going with them again over the Seagulls.
Well, I'm channeling my inner Tim Williams. I'm going based off a stat, not with the heart, going with stat-based prediction. Now, 5 out of 6 teams coming off the bye have gone on to win, and that 6th one was quite a close game. I'm hoping the stats can be on their side this week. They have to win, and I'd be disappointed if I jumped off them. They did win, so I'm sick and solid this week.
Chris, whatever makes you sleep at night, let's back you with that one. Now, the Cowboys are 16th. They come up against the Knights. Josh, are you tipping the Cowboys to get the job here?
I have tipped the Cowboys, but as the week goes on, I'm leaning towards the Knights for an upset. I think Kalyn Ponga's 100th game, just the way that the Cowboys have been playing at home, they just haven't shown that it's a fortress. So I'm tipping them this week, but if they don't win this week, can they make the 8, Chris?
Well, I don't think so. I honestly, and I've been very much similar to yourself, sticking with them. I think Tigers and Cowboys are 2 teams that after this week I might have to jump off, because I keep saying the Cowboys have to turn it around. You know, they were so good last year. I think up at home, if they don't win, I really don't see them making the 8.
I like that. One of the few things I like about the Cowboys at the moment, this weekend they have that backs against the wall mentality. They have to win. They know they have to win. So I can see them getting up for it. The one thing about it, their spine is intact. So I know they're missing a few key forwards. Jason Tamlo is a huge loss, but with the spine intact, I think they've got enough points in them to maybe get away with it, but I'm not confident.
What about another spine that's been in pretty red-hot form, led by the front, of course, by Nicho Hynes? They come up, of course, against the Bulldogs. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, look, Bulldogs, they're decimated.
Yeah.
$4 million worth of talent sitting out there. I mean, I'd really love to see them win, but it'd take a monumental effort after what the Sharks have produced last week against the Roosters to get the win.
The only thing with that is you look at the Sharks' loss against the Warriors, where they got in front really early and probably took the foot off the pedal. I know they probably are going to address it, but is it something in their game that we probably didn't see last year when they get so far ahead? A Bulldogs team backs again, another team backs against the wall. If they're within striking distance, you know, are they a chance?
Yeah, look, I'd like to see them get in striking distance first, but I just can't see it happening, and it's going to be a long month for the Doggies.
Well, this, of course, is Anzac Realm. Of course, Anzac Day has 2 big games, Storm and the Warriors, and also 2 Roosters and the Dragons. Storm and the Warriors, that's actually a tough one, considering where the Warriors are at in their season. They've been super impressive under Andrew Webster.
They have, and they've been winning at home and away from home. This is one clash that I'm really looking forward to, because who would have thought at the start of the year that Warriors would be sitting where they're sitting, in the Storm? You know, they had a disappointing loss against Manly where it was a very spiteful game, and Craig Bellamy gave them a rocket. So they're going to be up for this one, and they celebrate this day really well. So I think it's going to be a great game.
Now, one big talking point heading into round 8 is, of course, Sam Walker being dropped. A huge call from Trent Robertson. What do we make of that, Tim?
A substantial call, isn't it? Now, obviously not too bad to replace with Joey Manu coming into the halves there. I like it in some respects in that defensively it'll make the unit a lot better. Sammy Walker, he has a crap, he's a little body. Joey Manu is an absolute brick wall in defence. So that will help. In attack, I actually don't love Joey Manu playing as a playmaker. I prefer him in that roaming role just because I think it does stunt the rest of the line. You know, first and foremost, Joey Manu is a ball runner, not a ball player. So I don't love it. That being said, I think the Roosters will have too much firepower.
What do you do if they win the game well, and maybe win the next week? What do you do with Sam Walker? Like, they've invested and they said he's going to be the long-term half, but where do you go from there?
Well, I think Trent Robinson knows what he's doing. He's obviously seen some flaws or faults in his game that he needs to go back down to reserve grade and readdress. He is the future of that club, but everyone's been through it. We all go through it. You have patches and you go back down, you work on it, you come back better player. And I know for a fact that Sammy Walker will do that.
Yeah, he's certainly been around the game for some time, Trent Robinson. You'd think that he is making a right decision for the Roosters. So as we put up the tips for the Anzac Day round, you can see that Josh is going solo with the Broncos and Eels, while Chris is sticking fat with the Tigers. I hate to emphasise it, Chris, but I do hope they get up. Thank you to all of you, Josh, Chris and Tim. The Anzac round is a special part of the NRL season, and we can't wait to see how it unfolds. Don't forget to subscribe below and follow us on socials. We'll be back with Fox Sports Lab NRL next week.
G'day guys, the betr SC Playbook multi of the week for round 8 is Nicho Hynes to score 65 plus official NRL Fantasy points this week against the Bulldogs, into Will Kennedy anytime try scorer at $3. Now I love what the Doggers have shown this year. They've been a really resilient outfit, but a lot of injuries to their squad. The Sharkies, their attack is relentless at the moment. Nicho Hynes at the forefront of that, so I think they can get that job done. Good luck this week.
That's why we've made a betting brand for league fans. That's better. Chances are you're about to lose.